Today, I'm going to read stories that you all sent in about your paranormal encounters. So if you don't know, I'm Brixenta. I'm a medium. That just means that I see into the spirit realm. I can see spirits, demons, angels, other entities, good, bad, things like that. And so we've been doing a lot of urban exploring, and I've been talking to you guys about the supernatural. And today we're gonna do story time because I thought that it would be fun to get you guys involved. I thought it would be fun to hear your stories, and I was gonna hold the mic the whole time. But I have the iPad, and so I don't think I can hold the mic and the iPad. So the mic's gonna have to go. So let's start with story number 1 from Paranormal Nick. He actually wrote a book. I'm not sure if he put it in here or not, but I will put him up here somewhere, probably over here. Paranormal Nick. Go check him out. My older brother, little sister, and I have experienced odd and unusual goings on from our previous house growing up. In my early teens, we moved into a newly built house where the hauntings have stopped. Hauntings in quotes. Or so we thought. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we need a sound effect there. My sister and brother-in-law came to visit one weekend over the holiday season. My sister, brother, parents, and I were playing a game at the kitchen table. Uncle Nick? Asked my niece. Yes, Ellie? I replied, looking down into her bright blue eyes. September likes you, she said with a smile. At first, I didn't know what to say to a 4-year-old little girl full of strange and quirky questions. September is a month, I answered. It's the beginning of fall season. Allie had a few interesting experiences in the house. There were times where she would walk out of the playroom soaking wet from head to toe when there was no spilled water in a room nor a faucet. She claimed there was a monster in the closet, as most young children have feared. A few times, pennies fell to the floor next to her mysteriously from out of nowhere. As far as a child's imagination can imagine, I was intrigued as to what she had to say. I know of parents naming their children after months of the year, but hearing this from a 4-year-old, there had to be more. Silly Uncle Nick, she laughed. September is his name. I paused for a moment and looked over across the table where my little sister had a look of curiosity written across her face. My sister Becky asked me to go upstairs into the playroom and check it out. Allie has mentioned that name before at home in Iowa, said Becky. For the life of me, I have no idea who she's talking about. I held Allie by the hand and walked up the stairs with her into the playroom. I didn't see anyone nor heard anything out of the ordinary. Maybe you should use the ghost tools to talk to him, said Allie, because only I can hear him. As the paranormal investigator that I am, I thought of it as a fun way to experiment a little pre-ghost hunt with my niece. I gathered my EVP, electronic voice phenomena. I actually never knew what that stood for. Electronic voice phenomena is what EVP stands for. What exactly does that mean? Phenomena? Anyways, back on track. Recorder and pressed the record button. I know if you don't know what an EVP is, let me back that up actually. If you don't know what an EVP is, it basically there's a couple different versions. The actual EVP normally plays a bunch of static and picks up radio stations, and so it'll pick up a word or a phrase from a radio station nearby. It's thought to be a way for entities to communicate with humans, so that we can actually hear what they're saying. They'll tap in and pull up this station for whatever phrase they want to hear. That's what an EVP is essentially. I dimmed the light, sat on the floor in the middle of the toy room with Allie. We asked several questions to hear the supposed imaginary friend. Hello, September, greeted Allie. My Uncle Nick is here. Can you tell him your name? After several questions, such as, who are you? And is there anything I can do to help? And Allie tells me, you like me. Is this correct? We got no response in the room. At least, I didn't hear them physically. Later that night, I uploaded the EVP onto my computer. I loaded the sound and converted it into an MP3 file. After the recording was uploaded, I listened to the playback. To my surprise, Allie knew more about September than I would have guessed. I feel like there needs to be a bunch of dun 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 sound effects added in. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see. We'll see where we go. I'm so behind on editing right now. It's probably not going to happen, but pretend. Use your imagination. Here is the EVP's full session. Allie says, hello, September. EVP, we only heard static white noise. Allie says, my Uncle Nick is here. EVP, no response. Several minutes have passed. We didn't hear any response until Nick says, is there anything I can do to help you? EVP says, nope. The hair on the back of my neck stood on ends. Nick says, I'm not here to harm you in any way. EVP, no response. Allie says, it's okay, September. He won't hurt you. EVP says, I know. Nick says, where are you? EVP, box. I was confused at first. Allie then pointed at the shelf hanging on the wall behind me. I guess it would be that way because I'm standing this way. What I saw on the shelf was an antique wooden music box. I remember when I purchased the box at an antique mall. Just then, through the EVP recording, I heard a few music notes as if the box crank had turned, but I didn't physically hear it there myself while I was in the room outside from the recording. Mysterious music. Bling, bing, blong. Nick says, Allie told me you like me. EVP, yes. Short pause. You're nice, the voice replied. Over the last 10 minutes of the EVP session, I heard no other replies to any other questions we asked until the very end of the recording. Nick says, Allie told me that your name is September. Is that your name? EVP, no response. Nick says, what is your name? EVP says, bye. End of recording. Nick says, well, Seth, it was really nice talking to you. I hope we'll speak to you again. Allie said, he said you will. End of recording. I stored the music box in my paranormal collection of haunted things. Years later, when Allie was 7 years old, she still loved that music box as if it were brand new. She thought of it as a collector's piece of history, and I never stopped her from messing around with it. It was a gift for her when she was young. No matter how many times I tell this story, it always gets to me. I think of it as a not scary story, but where are we? But a very sad story, to be honest. Throughout the years of paranormal research, I have never come across something so emotional that even my niece wanted to help out. After my niece, Allie, turned 8, she still talked about the unusual haunting to all of her friends and family. I went to the antique shop where I bought the music box. I had asked the shopkeeper if they had any clue as to who previously owned it. I then learned that the music box was once a gift for a child named Seth Timber. Seth Timber. Oh my gosh, that's so close to September. According to the clerk, he loved it so much that he carried it everywhere he went, while other kids played with toy guns, marbles, dolls, and board games. Seth was more into the littlest things in life. Seth was born with Asperger's syndrome and developed a brain tumor at the age of 6. After many years of owning the music box, which was given to him from his mother at 4 years old, Seth declared the wooden music box as his best friend. Seth didn't socialize with many other kids in his school or cousins. He kept to himself most of the time. When Seth was 16 years old, he picked on and bullied a few of his classmates. Oops. With pride, he stuck close to his only friend who never laughed at him or teased him. Wait, when Seth was 16-year-old, he was picked on. That makes so much more sense. It's so sad. Why do we feel the need to bully each other? I know the answer to the question. That's just, we don't need to. We can all just get along. With pride, he stuck close to his only friend who never laughed at him or teased him, the music box. In 1955, Seth attended school one cold winter day without his music box. When he was having troubles with a class bully, he had no physical friends to defend him. Although his music box gave him courage, Seth defended himself and decided to punch his bully in the nose. His classroom teacher sent him to the principal's office to discuss his problem. But something, other than the bullying, triggered Seth's behavior that day. He claimed that he couldn't find his favorite toy. He looked all around, high and low, under his bed, in his toy box. His best friend was nowhere to be found. It was somewhere lost at home. The school principal told him he needed to grow up and make real friends. This upset Seth a great deal, but felt forced to swallow his pride and continue his day in school. How sad. Later that afternoon, Seth went to the school principal crying, saying another classmate teased him and called him baby, sissy girl, and the boy who plays with dolls. The principal told Seth to grow up and forget about the music box and never wanted to hear about that damn music box ever again. The principal then sent Seth home with a note to Seth's parents that he was suspended and was sent home for misbehaving and disrupting the class. The principal did not include that Seth was bullied by the other kids in class. That's rough. Seth ignored the principal's lies. In anger, Seth left the school with only the shirt, pants, and shoes he wore to school, forgetting his winter coat behind. Several hours had gone by, and his parents began to worry because Seth never made it home that evening, worried he may be harmed by the other schoolmates, or worse. His parents requested a search party to local authorities, the governing body of the country, to help find their lost, possibly scared child. Hours turned into days turned into weeks, and there were no signs of Seth's whereabouts. On an early morning in February, a neighbor rushed to the timber house to bring sad news to Seth's family. Their son was found dead in the nearby river. Seth's body was frozen and was gripping onto a foreign object. After several hours of thaw, the authorities reported that the object Seth Timber was holding onto was the small wooden music box. After viewing the body, it haunted Seth's mother as to how Seth found his lost friend. Seth's mother mourned for many years of her son who died with his favorite toy, his one and only friend. The only thing, besides his only family, that truly made him happy. The death report in the media stated Seth tried to walk home in the snow after being falsely accused of suspension from school. They believed he was angry, cold, confused. He became lost with no sense of direction to find his way home. He walked along the Pawnee River about 8 miles from home, in the opposite direction between his home and school. His home was east of the school. Seth was found dead on the northeast from the school. Seth had walked across the frozen ice and snow-covered river when it cracked and burst open. He fell into the freezing cold. He died suddenly from hypothermia. Mrs. Timbers knew Seth lost his favorite toy that day. She wasn't sure how he was found dead with it in his hands. It was a sad mystery that haunted her every day and night until she passed away in 1998 at the age of 61. The music box was recovered by a family member. It was later sent to an antique shop in Asheville, Nebraska. Years had passed until I purchased it and gave it to my niece because she liked how pretty it looked. After learning all of this about the music box, I didn't tell my niece the sad story. I pulled the old music box out from the Paranormal collection and turned on my EVP recorder. I knew what had to be done. I sat at my desk and talked to the box one last time. Talking to the box, feeling like a complete idiot, saying, "I understand what happened to you, Seth. I want to thank you for being my niece's friend. I assure you, she has been more than happy being your friend as well. I wish you the best and for more enjoyment with my niece for many years to come." I played back my EVP recorder and heard a response from Seth. "No, thank you," followed by a click sound. 3 weeks after finding out about Seth's past, Maggie, Allie's little sister, came to me saying, "Uncle Nick, I can't get this open." In her hands was the old antique music box. I picked it up, turned the crank, shifted the box around, and patted the bottom of the box, because the box would not pop open. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many tools I tried to carefully pry at the box, it just wouldn't open. Later, I performed another EVP session. I sat the box on the table with my recorder next to it. I sat the toy room with the EVP recorder, asking, "Hello, Seth. I'm here to ask why this old thing won't open. The girls really want to play with you, and I hope you can help." I got no response during the playback. After an hour trying to communicate, I still got no response. What happened to Seth Timber? Where did he go? Wherever he is, my oldest niece misses her ghostly friend. That Christmas, I received a Christmas card in the mail from all 3 of my nieces. It read, "Dear Seth, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas wherever you are. Love, your friends Allie, Maggie, and Heidi." Just then, I heard a familiar chime. Just then, I heard a familiar chime. It was the music from the old antique box. After the tune was played, it stopped, and it never played again. Wow, I didn't read these before I filmed this video. That was a really crazy story. I have a few more stories to read. I know that one was kind of lengthy, but the other ones are pretty short. So let's move on. Again, that one's from Paranormal Nick. You can follow him on TikTok. Excuse me. I believe he has a book as well. This one is from an anonymous follower. Okay, so about a week after this is the follower story. Okay, so about a week after my hubby was killed at work, a friend called to check on me. Of course, since it's work-related, there's workman's comp and etc. So some compensation for losing the breadwinner in the family, a family of 4. Long story short, hubby always told me never to discuss our finances, whatever, with anyone. It's not their beeswax. Pretty good advice. Okay, so I'm on the phone, and I already feel weird being alone at home, and she asks if workman's comp had been in touch and what they're going to do. The minute I open my mouth to answer in the positive, saying yes, their investigation proves me worth of comp, a cold rush of air goes by me, and my wedding picture flies off the wall from one side of the room to the other. That was all in caps, so I wanted to make sure it was loud. Not just the hanging mechanism snapped, like legit, as if someone put their hand behind it and tweeted across my hall. 4 feet wide, by the way. Do with that what you will. Thank you, Anonymous. Oh, wait. I think Jax is who sent this. I think that she said it was okay to put Jax, just not her full name, which I don't think I even know her full name. So, Jax, thank you for your submission. Alrighty, here we got another author. I don't think she's written anything like this in her books. I think she writes fictions. But B.L. Collar, Koller. I'm so sorry if I said your last name wrong. B.L. Collar. One time, I was sleeping over at a friend's house. I was sleeping on the couch and was overcome with the sense I was being watched. We've all been there, right? It's just not fun. When I looked into the end of the hallway, a woman was standing there in a green dress. She looked at me right in the eyes. nodded, and walked into the kitchen. How crazy would that be? When I asked my friend about it weeks later, she told me, "Oh, that's just Evelyn. It was her house during the Victorian era. Supposedly, Evelyn had been murdered by her husband and has been haunting the house ever since." Can you imagine waking up at a friend's house and seeing a woman? How mind-boggling must that be? But anyways, I highly recommend following BL Caller. She's amazing. Super sweet. Very creative person. She crochets too. 10 out of 10 recommend. And now we have a story from Stephanie. My first memory is from when I was 4 and had just moved into a new house. We still had unpacked boxes downstairs. I heard 2 men having a conversation and thought we were being robbed. I was terrified. Years later, both my sister and brother saw the same male spirit at different times. She submitted 3 different stories, I believe. So here's number 2. I stayed at a friend's house in elementary school. After we had turned off the light to sleep, we were being pelted by popcorn we had set on the floor. The next day, her mom had to fess up that their house was haunted. Can you imagine getting popcorn thrown at you by a ghost? I would hate that so much, but it's also kind of funny. I don't know. But also when you're a kid, things look a lot different, so I don't know if it would be scarier or less scary. Okay, 3rd story. At our last home, I would often be awakened by the sound of a baby crying. I'd wake my husband and ask him to check on the kids. They were always asleep. My husband thought I was nuts until my mom stayed over, and she couldn't understand why we weren't going to one of the boys who was crying. My son used to tell me that he heard a lady laughing at night. I think it was the same thing that I heard crying. Dun dun dun! Oh, wait, she submitted 3 more. No. One more. While staying at a hotel near Arlington National Cemetery, I was awakened by a whooshing sound. I looked up and saw the head of a Civil War soldier walking past the foot of the bed. I thought it was an intruder until he vanished, walking towards the bathroom. Yeah, that would be terrifying to wake up to what you think somebody is in there. If you think somebody is in your room, like literally think somebody is in your room, that would be very terrifying. Normally, like, I've seen a couple of apparitions and like it's not terrifying. For me, it hasn't been. It's just been like a conversation and then I look up and they're gone. They literally disappeared. And it's like, didn't piece together till later. But like in the moment, you just think you're talking to something and then somebody, and you don't really think about it in the moment. So it's really not a big deal. That would be a big deal though. Whew, that would be terrifying. Okay, so I think that this is the last one. This one is from Precious _loves. My daughter, who is 12 now, when she was maybe 5, woke up screaming and pointing at the wall. Woke us all up and we were freaked. I mean, I would be too. I couldn't get her to calm down. The next night, it happened again. But this time she woke me up screaming and crying, saying, "Mama, why is your nose bleeding?" It wasn't, by the way. I still don't know what to think about it, but it was definitely creepy. My husband also said it felt like someone was choking him one night and he couldn't breathe. I also witnessed it, and it definitely was scary. Okay, that's the end of the stories. Whose did you think was the most creepy? Whose did you think you would have actually enjoyed the experience, or would have you thought they were all creepy, or do you think they're all made up? What is your thoughts? Do you have your own story? If you have a story, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want more of these, leave your comments. Tell your stories, and I'll do another one of these. But I love you so much. Dream big, take action. Bye.